Nissan's much-trumpeted decision in 2016 to produce the X-Trail in Sunderland was hailed as a sign that Brexit Britain was open for business. Last week, just as the EU-Japan free trade deal came into force, Nissan went into shuddering reverse. The X-Trail would not be made in Britain, but Japan. No deal Brexiteers are protesting. This has nothing to do with Brexit, despite Nissan part-blaming Brexit for its decision. Even though the House economist of Brexit, Patrick Minford, has admitted that Brexit will run down the automotive industry, which supports 800,000 jobs and contributes over 80 billion to the economy. Nissan is only in the UK because we are, or were, in the EU, the gateway to the largest single market in the world, which we are leaving. Leave means leave for Nissan, Jaguar Land Rover, Dyson, Airbus, Sony, Panasonic, all voting with their feet. It's close to midnight now. This is not Project Fear, this is Project Reality. Time to slam on the brakes and stop this industrial crash-out wrecking Britain.
Rachel, you don't know anything about the motor industry, so I'm not surprised you've got this wrong. You're partly right. Is Brexit, of course, Brexit is a contributory factor.
And emissions.
Right. The diesel downturn.
And the EU-Japan deal, which means it's easier to sell cars in...
So you're aware of the diesel downturn, you're aware of the Volkswagen
I've got a diesel, I know,
it's
we're 30% down on diesel sales.
OK, you're aware that also, as you rightly said, Jaguar, Land Rover, Ford, they're scaling down production. You're aware that China, even China, not buying as many cars. You're aware of all of that, that the global market consumption of diesel cars...
I do. There is a slump in China.
But you choose to totally...
The slowdowns, Can I just point out one thing? The Jaguar, Land Rover and slowdowns in the other brands are slated for after March this year, in presumption that there are going to be...
If you're right...
Supply chain difficulties after Brexit.
I think, as I've said, I think it's partly to blame.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not wholly to blame.
I said partly too.
Well, no, it's 5 minutes to midnight and we're all doomed and God knows what. I'd like to show you a picture of a car. I'd like to show you a picture of a car. It's not my car. This is a Toyota Corolla. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Toyota began production of the all-new Corolla hatchback and estate range at its manufacturing facility in Derbyshire. Corolla is the world's best-selling car across the whole of the planet. The Derbyshire factory employs 3,000 people and it received 240 million in investment last year. Toyota, the best-selling car in the world, is being built in Derbyshire. If you were right, I wouldn't have been able to say what I just said.
Are they intending to send those Corollas outside the UK?
You think they're going to buy every single Corolla?
Well, I don't know. I want to know what their intended market.
Yes, they will be exporting tons of Corollas.
OK, fine.
So would you like to withdraw your point?
No, I won't.
It'll make you a better person.
Nothing can make me a better person. Can we bring in? Can we broaden when the panel comes in? Can we broaden it beyond the car industry? Because we have seen a slight Brexodus of business, and it's not because Brexit hasn't happened yet. It's because in fear that we will not get a deal. I think that if we get a deal, I think there is 60% chance Theresa May will get her deal through and we will stay in the customs union. My point about 5 minutes to midnight is that companies have to press the button on their investments decisions now, and we've seen this happening.
I would take the Nissan point on the chin, all right, if it was for the fact that Nissan were going to move out and go to France, say. But they're not. They're taking it all the way back to Japan. Now, taking this on a wider field, I've got a friend who's developing a drinks business. He's doing extremely well. He's turning over 15 million plus cans or whatever it is he's doing, all right? He can't wait for those borders to come down so he can do deals all over the place, OK, and punt out far more cans than what he would have been able to if he was part of the European Union.
Right, so he wants to sell his drinks in the 17% of the world that are pretty far flung outside the EU, that he thinks that it's going to be easier to trade with the far flung.
I'm just a bit confused, because when you say borders coming down, I don't know if we've got a completely
Brexit,
but it's actually borders going up.
What he's saying is he's going to be less restricted in his movement selling drinks as part of the EU, as what he has if he's got to make his own deals, you know, in the way it's going to push ahead.
So you think
and
we should remain?
So,
but that's
no, I don't think we should remain. We should be out
He
of
wants to
there
get into
in a flash.
Japan and he wants to get into Brazil and India.
absolutely. He wants to push it around the world.
If he
Exactly,
wanted to get
100%.
into
Thanks.
Japan, he'd be much easier for him if we stayed in the EU, because now we've got a free trade deal with Japan for 600,
he'll make his own deals, thank
650
you very
million
much.
people.
Rachel is completely right. You know, whether you, I think we all acknowledge that Brexit is not the only factor affecting business. But if you are a government in a climate where there are slowdowns, there's globalisation, there's automation that are threatening your manufacturing sector, you don't then go about creating the most difficult, hostile and unpredictable business imaginable for the remaining global economies that are in your jurisdiction. And I'm going to play you what the Conservative Business Secretary says about this, because even he acknowledges that things are looking bad.
Well, I'm disappointed that the new jobs associated with the X-Trail will not now come to Sunderland. I'm pleased that the plant will benefit from substantial new investment in the existing models, and that the decision to continue with the vital investment in the Qashqai Leaf and Juke and the jobs associated with them is unaffected.
Those jobs are unaffected, but the 740 new jobs that would have been created by the X-Trail will now not be created in Sunderland because of this. The reality is, you know, we've all got our views on Brexit and Remain. Why are we not listening to what businesses say?
I
am yet to hear a big global company that says the uncertainty and the shambles over Brexit is good for business. It's not good for business, and everyone knows that.
I really disagree with you, and I really feel...
On what?
I feel, yeah, everything in life, generally. No,
All right,
but on this
that's it.
particular, end of episode. No, on this particular issue, I feel very strongly about this. I feel very strongly that Brexit... No, you always do this. As soon as I open my mouth, you do this, and it annoys me. I feel very strongly that Brexit is being constantly used, and it started, Rachel, it started in July 2016 when Lloyds announced a business transformation programme and said that they was closing shops and making redundancies a month after the vote. Now, I have ran and worked on and been part of significant business transformation programmes that run into their multi-millions and span years. A business, for them to evolve and transform, they do so. It's normally a very considered process. Profit, if they're honest, profit is normally at the heart of it, structuring, restructuring, etc. But it's normally got a profit motive. Now, what happens when businesses decide to restructure is Brexit has become almost a fashionable excuse. It's become a fashionable excuse for people, for businesses, not to face up to the difficult
can I interrupt
decisions.
you for a second?
Go on.
If you were in an international, multinational company now that was based in the UK, that depended on just-in-time supply chains, and you could headquarter, let's say, in Amsterdam. Wouldn't you be thinking about headquartering in Amsterdam simply because you could continue those just-in-time supply chains, whereas you won't necessarily if we do leave without a deal?
I would say two things to that. First of all, the uncertainty...
Why is that a mad
Hang on, let me
question?
answer your point. So the uncertainty that we have at the moment is absolutely terrible, and it is that uncertainty which makes it difficult for a business to plan. So that's the first point. The second point is just-in-time manufacturing is just one form of manufacturing, by the way. There are many other ones. It's not the only production method
a lot
that
of
exists
these
in the entire
manufacturers
world.
depend on a part arriving and then 2 hours later we have to say,
currently
what we're going to
do,
get
you're
is not in time manufacturing.
Rachel,
if we have interruptions to traffic and to paperwork.
May I
at the
interrupt you
borders.
briefly? If the Eurozone is so fantastic, why is it teetering on the edge of recession? Italy is in recession. France is virtually there. The Eurozone, it was reported this week, is on the verge of recession.
If the Eurozone was in recession, why are people
please
cheering the EU-Japan trade deal?
Please answer my question. If it is so great, how come they're about to fall into recession?
As far as I'm concerned, they're not. They're not in the Eurozone.
No one was saying we should go into the Eurozone.
The EU. No, hang on. In the EU, come on, we were part of the EU trading bloc.
But we are not in the Eurozone.
No, but they are about to. If it is so fantastic with this EU trading bloc. By the way, I have said so many times, it's probably not the right time to do it, but it's the right thing to do because the EU cannot continue the way it is. Why would they be going into recession? Why? If it's so great, why?
So are you saying our membership...
Please answer the question. Why?
Listen, the EU, we're not members of the EU because it's guaranteed permanent and eternal growth.
You've talked about trade. You laughed at him and his mate with the beer or whatever it is. Oh, we've got this marvellous trade in Europe now. If it's so marvellous, why is it in recession?
because of all the reasons you mentioned. The global slowdown, China, trade conditions are difficult, Trump and tariffs.
It's Trump's fault that the Eurozone.
This is a difficult climate.
It would have been Brexit, but they've gone for Trump
instead.
It's
a difficult climate for global trade. Our response is to do everything we can to make it harder for our businesses. How does that make sense?
All right. It might not be that it's a project that's had its day. It might not be that, huh?
My turn.